I saw that you could get paid based on results instead of just like clocking in, clocking out of time. And that was my first taste of like money, right? And so from there on, it always felt really shitty whenever I had a job and I just got paid hourly, because no matter how hard I worked, it didn't determine how much I got paid, right? So from there on, you're like, hey, where did you start your entrepreneur journey? It's out of need and desperation. Like in 2015, when I started my lawn care company, I was working at Future Shop. I was working there, they laid everyone off, and then I couldn't find a job. So we mowed some lawns for cash. And then I kept growing that. And so it just came out of need. And then I fell in love with the fact that I could just have control over my own outcomes, my own income.
Welcome to the Vision Dev podcast, where entrepreneurs, innovators, and creators come to us to not only share their stories, but also their mindset, the strategies, and the tools behind their great accomplishments. Hi everyone, this is your host Leo Burnett. I'm the co-founder of Vision Dev, our private real estate investment company. And on the road to building our dream portfolio, I like to invite people from all walks of life, talk about their experience in business and the companies they started, learn about the tips and tricks that they're applying to their business on a day-to-day basis, and see how we can use all of this into our own. Today's guest is named Hamza Qureshi. He's the co-founder of Six Figure Student, and I'm very excited to have him because back when I was 20 years old, starting university, I had a similar opportunity that he's now offering students. I got to start my own business, get a coach, get trained, and learn what it was to be an entrepreneur. And that was foundational to my path. And now Hamza is giving this amazing opportunity to students in their early 20s, but also people outside of university, so that they can also learn what it's like if they have it in them, and if they do, to grow it and to build their own business. It's a great conversation. We talk about leadership, we talk about faith, we talk about mindset, and all of these subjects that I love talking about. Hamza is a brilliant man. He's very eloquent. You'll love hearing about everything he has to say, and you will not want to miss this episode. Well, thanks for being on the podcast. Your organization is something that that's been in my life. I used to have a student painting franchise when I was in university, and it changed my whole life. The contacts I've made, my partner in this business, I met through that, met mentors. It was quite a privilege and a gift that it just fell on me and that I had this opportunity. So seeing someone like you, starting a new brand like that to give this opportunity to more students, I think it's amazing. It's a great path for you to grow into as well as a leader. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast and hear about this whole story. You were kind enough to invite me to do a keynote in front of a lot of students in Ottawa last year. It was a super fun event, very well organized. And so I thought I should give you your opportunity to speak about your path and your journey and lessons learned so far. And I think it could resonate with a lot of people in our audience.
Super happy to be here, man. Thank you for having me, and let me know how I can add the most value.
Yeah. So I'd like to just start with putting things into context. So tell us about Six Figure Students, how it started, where it's at this point. Tell me your journey up till now.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Hamza, for those of you who don't know me. And I started my entrepreneurial journey in 2015. It was my first year in university. And in the summer, I just started a super small, I wouldn't even call it a business. It was a lawn care landscaping side hustle. We're just mowing lawns for cash. And long story short, I ended up scaling that summer over summer to the point where it became a legitimate company. And because I was taking health sciences at school, that was what my degree was in, I had no business being in business. And so I learned everything to do with business, about sales, about team building, etc., through this lawn care business, which is a non-innovative, very old school, simple business. And by the end of my university journey, I had not only learned a bunch of skills, but I was able to finance my schooling, my academic cost, tuition, living costs, transportation, etc., and still make a little bit more for my savings account. So graduate instead of being in the negative with some positive. You know, I didn't have Lambo or mansion money, but like a little bit more. And I just saw that I was never attracted to lawn care landscaping, but what I was attracted to was what this business vehicle was able to kind of deliver in terms of results in my personal development. And I saw that a bunch of my friends that I hired along the way kind of were interested in the same thing of like, they're not passionate about lawn care landscaping, but they're passionate about like working their asses off, making a bunch of money, developing themselves as people and making themselves more valuable so that they can have an awesome future. And that's where we kind of created Six Figure Student. So Six Figure Student came to life 4 to 5 years. So about 2021 is when we kind of launched our first pilot program, where we're like, hey, we can help other students run a home service business in the summer where they don't have to go all in on committing to a business for 10 years. We get that they're students, they're 18 to 21 year olds, and they want to do something for a year, for 6 months, develop themselves, make some money, and use that as a stepping stones, as a ladder to get to the next goal in life. And traditional businesses, you know, you want to be going in for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years minimum. It's like you want to have a solid commitment. You can't just like run a business 6 months and be like, I'm going to be successful. So we wanted to create a platform which was compatible with the short time horizon of the students, while having enough support that we can take a student without any skill, but great ambition and work ethic, and help them become successful in the 8 months that they are with us. So that's kind of where it came from. And now we're able to help students deliver on that promise of being able to make more than their standard summer jobs and being able to learn a lot more and develop themselves as people a lot more through this experience, to the point where they come out of it and now they can chase their dreams in a meaningful way.
It's such a great gift you're offering there. And I'm sure you're learning a lot through that. You're growing through that. So how many students have gone through your program so far?
We've slowly started to scale up, and one of the hurdles that we saw as part of this business was running a business is scary, especially for 18, 19-year-olds.
100%.
It's very scary, and not only that, their environment is not supportive of that necessarily every single time, because they might be in a household where running a business is not the norm. So whenever they're talking about it or thinking about it, the parents are seeing that as too risky of a move, and they might not have support from their parents or their siblings or whatever, right? Whoever's in the house. They're in an academic environment at school that is all very structured, one step after the other, low risk, guaranteed results, but low potential. And so they're in both in-house and outside of their house environments that are not conducive to entrepreneurship necessarily. So whenever they hear about this concept of entrepreneurship, running their own business, having a high amount of results in a short amount of time, it's almost, they're a little bit scared of it. They're a little bit apprehensive of it. They're questioning, hey, is this even real? Right? Because they've never seen anything like that, because they're getting paid minimum wage jobs. They're barely making ends meet, et cetera. And no one's giving them a shot. And so that posed a challenge of like, okay, well, not only do we need to help them see that this is doable and that they're going to develop themselves a lot throughout this journey, but actually we need the right type of student in here as well. Because if we just take any student who thinks that the results are sexy, but is not willing to put in the obscene amounts of works that it takes to make a business successful and sacrifice a bunch of stuff that they're usually used to in a typical summer, then they're probably not going to be successful. And so that was a learning curve. So far we've worked probably with a handful, like somewhere around 15 to 20 students,
Amazing.
And helped them deliver some great results. But this is just the start. Yeah.
And you've created the program from scratch. Like you're the one training them. You have a partner also.
Yes.
That I've met. So you're training these students during the winter period, and then they're ready for the summer to start producing what they've sold throughout the winter in terms of contracts. It's mostly painting.
It's lawn care, landscaping.
Okay, it's all lawn care.
Window cleaning, pressure washing. Those are the two industries we're in so far.
All right.
Yes.
The service is just it's just a pretext to I don't know if that's a word in English, but it's just a reason to start a business. Really.
Exactly. It's just a vehicle that gets you to the end result. Yeah.
It's awesome. So we've discussed it before. I'm trying something new today on the podcast. I like to harness the power of ChatGPT and deep research and see what comes out. ChatGPT knows me very well because I talk a lot with it and knows what I like to talk about. So I was curious to see what kind of questions or topics would come out for our discussion. So I've highlighted 10 topics we could discuss, and you've selected 5. So I'll just go in order, and we can use these as jump as a platform to have our conversation. So the 6-figure student blueprint, you were already touching on it, so it's a good segue. I'm curious. I was going to ask you what kickstarted you into becoming an entrepreneur in your life? Like, what kind of upbringing did you get? Was that a sure path that you were going to take because you came from that type of upbringing, or did you just take a very different journey than your parents or whoever was involved in your upbringing?
Yeah, great question. So I come from an immigrant family. I was an immigrant myself. We came from Pakistan to Canada in 2008. I was 12, I think, at that point. In my first grade here in Canada was grade 7. So that was my first year in school there. We came in August and I started school in September. So, but yeah, immigrant family. Most of my family was actually in medicine. So my mom was a physician. My grandfather was a physician. My uncles, my aunts, like there's a bunch of our family that's all physicians in medicine. So very strong influence in the medical field. Mm-hmm. Then we had some of our family members just like serve in the military. Some family members were in other academic fields. But point being, long story short, it's like
they all came from very structured environments.
Yeah, very structured industries and environments. Yeah, like medicine, engineering, like, so I actually didn't grow up with too much entrepreneurship around me. Now, my dad, he had, when I was very young, when we were still in Pakistan, I was probably like 8. And I barely remember this, but I remember he started trying some entrepreneurial ventures, and amongst them was an import or export business. I remember there would be like a bunch of boxes throughout the whole house. Be cutting up cardboard, shipping stuff, packaging stuff. And I think there were a couple of times he took a shot at it and it didn't really work out because of geopolitical reasons and et cetera. There was just a tough environment. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of left that. We came to Canada. We were an immigrant family, and then he just went into survival mode, right? So what's my environment? It's either I've seen very like structured academic, high performing like people in like medicine, etc., or like I've seen the realities of an immigrant family just trying to pay bills and survive. And so when I was kind of in high school, I never had like, I had a very comfortable upbringing where, I never struggled for housing or never struggled mm-hmm. for food on the table, etc. Like I was clothed well, like my parents took really good care of me. But, some of the luxuries or wants of a kid, and now I understand it, but back then I didn't, and I was like I don't have the phone, or I don't have this or that, and it's like I had most of life's necessities, I just didn't have those so those things I they didn't hand me any of that. Like I had to buy my own phone, like small thing like that. So it's like that resulted in me like trying to find ways to make money. Mm-hmm. And early on I was trying to get a job for the longest time. I wasn't allowed to get a job. Why? Because I needed to focus on school. So I was at a very academic upbringing from my environment as well as in school. Like I had outstanding academic achievements even in grade school. In high school I had like pretty good grades, etc. And then I started working a little bit. I started making some money. I worked commission jobs. I worked mm-hmm. sales jobs. I worked hard jobs of like, I don't know if you I've seen those companies that do lawn aeration. And so what they'll do is they'll get everyone to show up at their depot. They'll put mm-hmm. everyone in a van of like 10 to 12 people. They'll have a big trailer with machines. They'll go drop you off in a neighborhood at like 9 a.m. and they'll pick you up at 9 p.m. And so you're rolling around with this machine, you go door to door, you sell it, and then you like actually do the service, and then you get your own cut at the end of the day, and then like they get their cut at the end of the day. So I did that for a bit. Like that taught me sales.
Yeah,
and,
I
like,
must have made good money doing that too.
Yeah, because I was half decent at doing so. I don't know how, maybe just out of desperation and trying really hard. But like I had people like, saw people walk away with like $40 at the end of the day of a whole like 10, 12 hours.
And what did your parents say about that? Because I know like,
yeah,
more like traditional parents will not want you to spend all this time working, making money, because you should be focusing on studying. And like, were they okay with that? Like, were they encouraging you into this?
Not really. They weren't really okay. But because this thing was a full day thing and I could only do it on Sundays because I was a competitive track athlete, so I had training on Saturday, and so I can't do a Saturday. I have Monday through Friday school. I have training in the evening, so I can only work one day. And so I'd go do this on one day, work like 12 hours, but I would make the same amount as my friends would be making at like a Walmart or a grocery store in a week. And so
that sparked your entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
You saw like you could make double, triple, 10 times what people are making if you're just smart about it.
I saw that results could pay you. You could get paid based on results instead of just like clocking in, clocking out of time. And that was my first taste of like money, right? And so from there on, it always felt really shitty whenever I had a job and I just got paid hourly, because no matter how hard I worked, it didn't determine how much I got paid, right? So from there on, it's just, you know, you're like, hey, where did you start your entrepreneur journey? It's out of need and desperation. Like in 2015, when I started my lawn care company, I was working at Future Shop, which was, for those people who don't know what it is now, it was basically the same store as a Best Buy, but then they merged together in 2015, spring of 2015. I was working there, they laid everyone off. And then I couldn't find a job. So we mowed some lawns for cash. And then like I kept growing that. And so it just came out of need. And then I fell in love with the fact that I could just have control over my own outcomes, my own income.
And what would you tell students that aspire to start their own business, but they don't have the right environment, and their influences around them and what their parents are teaching them, or their experience doesn't align very well with them starting their first business, especially not in university? Like, what would you tell them?
I would say first you have to come from a place of gratitude and love, and recognize that the people around you are just trying to look out for you, want the best for you. But that doesn't mean that the advice is the best advice. So you can have both. You can have someone really caring about you while not giving you the best advice, because they're not the most educated or the most experienced in that world. So parents are the most common example where they're trying to protect their kids and help them avoid risk, right? But sometimes that's not the best answer for their development. And so where can you find the right environment? I would say find other people in your city. There's usually people doing the same thing that you're trying to do. And the more you speak up about it to other people, you're going to start naturally seeing who's engaging with you in those conversations. Like literally like in your friend group, what are the quality of conversations you're having? Are you guys talking about other people? Are you guys talking about the events happening in the city? Or like, you know, how crazy of a party last weekend was? Or like, are you talking about how you're going to build your future, right? And once you start talking about bigger things, bigger ideas, you're going to start noticing that certain people are going to conversate with you a little bit more about those ideas, and then those are starting to become your type of people in the right type of environment. So it's like you have to take ultimate accountability. It's like if you don't have the environment, no one's going to come save you and give you the right environment. You have to take responsibility of creating that environment for yourself.
So you have, like, if you feel like your environment's not influencing you in the right direction, you have to replace it or compensate for it by creating or joining another environment. And that, in my experience, being with Scholars at Your Service, not that my parents were not encouraging me in that way, though, because they were both entrepreneurs themselves, but spending these years I spent running my student painting franchise alongside all these great people that were influencing me in the right direction, it really changed my whole mindset, really. So that's a good answer. That's probably the best thing you can do. Surround yourself with the right thoughts. And
awesome. Well, before you joined them, was your environment conducive to entrepreneurship and you building your future and your own business,
Yes
etc.?
and no. Both my parents were self-employed, but at this point in my life, they had not built a business. My dad knew and always told me, if you want to make money in life, you have to have a lot of employees. That's what he always told me. So somewhere he knew, but he didn't have any employees at that point. My mom neither. So they were self-employed, but they were not building a business. They were just not having a job at that point. So having people that were actually building business at this point really changed my trajectory. And that's what I was looking for. And I was not finding it in business school.
Right.
I was finding that in these types of platforms, organizations.
Interesting. So, what did you find the biggest difference was in school then?
It was very theoretical. It was very case study based. It was not hands-on. I was learning about decisions that people had made, but I was not making decisions myself. And I don't find personally that I learn much from other people's decisions. I try to take the wisdom from people that were there before me, but 90% of what I learned by doing it myself and just messing up myself and doing it again. So I had a hard time really developing myself in an academic environment. And I was not even attracted to case study contests or university like business startup contests. Like it was a fake business you were pitching.
Right.
And so I was not attracted to that. And I thought maybe business is not for me. Maybe starting a business not for me because I was not feeling it. But when I did start my own business, that's when I connected. Like, okay, I was not attracted to all these things because they were not the true experience, the true risk.
Right.
The stress of like making calls and not knowing what's going to happen and learning from it. But I was hooked.
Yeah. Once you start tasting that, your action has real consequence, both good or bad, or in the right direction or the wrong direction. And you can just like change it. And then you change the result or the trajectory of your life. It's like an addicting feeling.
It's creation. It's an ongoing creation. So, do you want to walk us through the journey of a student that joins Six Figure from onboarding to the end of a season? What does it look like?
Yeah, for sure. So in our recruitment phase, we're literally just looking for the right people, and that's one of the most important phases for us. But beyond that, once we find the right type of person, and the right type of person is someone who's very ambitious, willing to work really hard, and and is okay with sacrificing some of the things that they might be indulging in for a greater good for themselves.
Are they all university students or any type of students?
Honestly, we're finding that more and more people are interested in opportunities like these outside of university as well. Not just in university. There's more young people now that are open to the idea that they don't have to go to school in order for a successful future. Right. So we're coming across 18 to 21-year-olds, both in college and university and outside of them as well.
Okay.
So once we pick the right type of people, then we're going to go ahead and take them through an onboarding training process that usually lasts like a month. And it's a series of events on weekends, conferences, etc., to really teach them the theoretical aspects of how to run a business before they actually start running a business. And we compress the content in like a month. Like you don't need 4 years of business school to learn how to run a business. You need like a couple weeks. And then you actually run a business, and then you'll learn the rest over the next decade.
That's
right?
it.
And you'll still won't know everything at the end of that decade, which is the best part about business. But like coming back to like what their cycle is, after that month or so, they get coupled with a personal coach. And this personal coach has usually been has had results, both him or herself, as well as have had proof of results through of coaching other people to that result, right? And so they've been there and done that. And so they're going to be coupled with a personal coach. They're able to then put together a plan for the next 6 to 8 months. They're going to start their training in January. They're going to put an execution plan in together by the end of January, and then start executing on it week by week. And then every single week, they get to reflect on their week, compare their results, see if they're on track, what adjustments need to be made, how do you solve the hurdles that are currently arising, and continue to scale their business. In the winter months, up until April, they're focused on sales, they're selling jobs, they're collecting deposits on them and booking them for the summer. So they're about part-time so they can still manage school or another part-time job if they need to kind of bridge their finances in terms of cash flow. And in the summer months, they transition to actually producing the jobs and actually doing the work, ending their year in October. So then they focus back on school. That's what a year looks like, yeah.
It's one hell of a year.
It is.
But it's feels like a couple of years actually, but
compressed in 8 months, yeah.
But you learn so much. You're not the same person after that.
And that's the most that's probably the most valuable aspect of this entire program. It's like, it's not the money, even though that's the sexy part, so that's why we market it and advertise it, because if I'm like, hey, we'll help you build more confidence, no one's going to care, right? But if I'm like, hey, make 30K with us, like, it's like, yeah, like now you have my attention. So the sexy part is never the usually the most valuable part. And so the sexy part is the money. The sexy part is, yeah, you get to put some certain skills on your resume. But the real valuable aspect is a shift in identity, is a shift in your confidence of how you view yourself, of now you know that if you want to do something, the only thing standing between you and that achievement or that target is how hard you're willing to work on your resourcefulness or your strategy. It's not your fate. It's not society. It's not the people around you. It's you, right? And that level of control over oneself is truly inspiring and truly like confidence building, to the point where when the student graduates at the end of the year, they're like, yeah, I made some money and like have good results, but man, I feel like a totally different person. And that's what you would just mention, and also we've gotten as feedback from our students too.
So walk us through that transformation. Like what are the concrete skills that people learn? Like business skills, but personal skills, mindset. Like what are the typical things that a person's going to learn through a program like that they're not going to learn in school?
I would say there's two main categories of them, right? So one is like the actual practical business skill sets. So communication, sales, conflict resolution, management of teams, cash flow management, all of that, right? But the true valuable one is the character development, and that's the second category of skills. And for a lack of words, or to just cut short, it's they learn that by getting punched in the face. And there's no alternative. You go out and you get rejected. You go out and you try something and you fail. And you have two choices. Either you can navigate and figure it out and figure out how to succeed regardless of a shortcoming, regardless of a rejection, regardless of a challenge, or you give in and you build a pattern in your head. Every time I come across something hard, every time I come across something challenging, I throw in the towel. Or you build the other pattern. Every time I come across a challenge, I look at it objectively, I reach out to whoever can help me with it, I put together a strategy, and then I take action. And then if they do that enough times, that loop, the right type of loop, right, of taking action, then whenever 6 years from now, 10 years from now, whenever they come across challenges, that just becomes their new identity and how they approach challenges and hard stuff in life. It's now they're actually going through hard challenges and overcoming them. That builds the confidence to do the same thing in the future. So, yeah.
That's awesome. You really sound like you've been doing this for 20 years when I listen to you. Like you always have the right words. You have a great eloquence, I have to tell you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Where did you learn all of this? Did you learn by doing it, or were you also formally trained? Did you get coaches? Like, what was your learning path?
Just so I'm clear on the question, are you asking about my entrepreneurial pathway?
I'm asking about you being a great coach, knowing how to coach people. You must have been coached before.
Yep.
Like you've had examples. How did you learn all this?
Honestly, I started my entrepreneurial journey on my own, and that was in 2015, and it was possibly the worst decision I could have made. And
Okay.
I cost myself a lot of years. I cost myself a lot of money in unrealized opportunity by not having a mentor, by not having a coach, which I only realized later. But I didn't even know what a coach was or a mentor was. I just started, right? But later in life, in I think 2018 or so, I actually started working with my first coach. And it was the same person who coached you. His name's Nick Ham, and we had an arrangement. I actually did some freelance media work at that time, and so I had a small little media freelance agency at that time. So I did content creation, etc. And so I started helping him with some content, and we had an exchange of services where he would then help me build my franchising business.
Nice. Okay.
And so something he had real experience in. So I was like, okay, well, I can show you my skill set of content, producing content. And that was verifiable because I had actual clients and testimonials and product out. And he's like, well, I have already built what you were trying to build in 2018-19. That's what he told me. And so you could either like spend the next 10 years trying to figure it out, or like you could just learn from someone who's been there and done that, and you can shortcut success.
Yeah.
So I chose to go down that pathway. I got coached by Nick. He was really, really good at
Nick's a
what he
great
does.
coach.
Yeah. And he helped me with the business structure, the offer creation, recruitment process, system building of how to systemize things, navigating tough mental challenges and blocks. And so I was on the receiving end of the coaching, so I got a taste for that. And I was like, man, if I just freaking did this like 5 years ago, that would have been, because I remember I met some of his students. One of his students is Jamal. And Jamal, and Jamal and I actually crossed pathways in university earlier before I met Nick. And he was like recruiting for scholars or something, and we came across each other. And we came across, and he talked to me, and he was trying to recruit me into scholars, and I was like, no, I have my own business, I don't need you. I was arrogant, I should have listened. And it's like, I remember Jamal sharing with me in his first year, he did $110,000 in revenue. In my first year, I did like 15. And so, yes, I've been running this 10 years. Now I coach other students, etc. But it's taken me a decade to go there, right? It took me 4 years, I think, to get to 100K. Jamal did it in his first year as a rookie without any experience. What was the difference? He had a coach. I didn't. And so I learned that a lesson now the hard way, and I plan on never repeating it again. But Nick was my coach. I got introduced to coaching through him. However, whenever you're at the receiving end of it, doesn't mean you're good at doing it. Like you're good at like kind of providing that service for another person as well. So when I started coaching, because I had little coaching at that point, I wasn't very good at coaching. And I came into this with a mindset of like, you should just, if I tell you what to do, you should just do it, right? And that's not what coaching is. Coaching needs to be like, hey, I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder, and we're going to be a team, and I'm going to help you navigate all your challenges. But more important than here's how to solve it, we're going to go over how you can learn to solve it yourself. So that when the next challenge comes along, the path of least resistance to solving that challenge is not coming to me to figure out how to solve it. It's now you've learned the skill to solve it yourself, and you can put together a plan and execute on it and come for feedback instead. And so you become more and more valuable and skillful at solving challenges going forward.
That's such a great skill. I wish I had gone through that sort of training in my own life, because being a good coach, or like Nick likes to say, coordinating action with others, is probably the master skill in business, or one of the most important skills.
100%.
So being a good coach is just one of the elements of doing good coordination with coordinated action with others. And you're lucky you have that. It's good. It's great that you're practicing this.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, what do we have next? Mindset mastery. I was listening to a book this morning by Cam Haynes. He's He's a hunter, a bow hunter, and also like a triathlete and a long distance runner, and like he talks a lot about mindset. And I really like what he was saying about fear as something you should accept, but not let rule you. And mastering mindset is a lot about self control and understanding yourself. So. Yeah, what would you think are, look, what would be your habits towards maintaining the right mindset in business in general?
What would you define as the right mindset?
The one that suits you best, the one that allows you to carry your business.
Okay.
It's not easy every day. You might doubt yourself. You have to go through obstacles. You don't always know exactly where you're headed. You operate in fog a lot of time in business.
Yeah.
It requires a good resilience to get through that and stay optimistic some days. So I know you have your faith, you pray 5 times a day. It's like, what a great reset multiple times per day. That must help a lot.
100%.
Like, do you have other habits that you follow to maintain a good mindset?
Yeah, so I think my faith plays a big part in it, like you mentioned, and it kind of resonates a lot of the business advice that I've kind of gotten from mentors and books and podcasts. And what we believe is what we are in control of is inputs, right? What we are in control of is effort, but the result is in God's hands. And so that's kind of what we believe. And so the whole faith revolves around, but you still have a responsibility of putting those inputs in. So you can't just like sit on your ass, do nothing, and then expect God to like fix your life. So you gotta show up, you gotta do your best. However, the result may or may not happen, but you gotta have your inputs regardless. And so what that teaches and kind of resonates on other advice is like, you may not feel like doing some stuff, some actions, certain days, but you're not focused on you doing things as you feel or don't feel like doing. You're focused on execution based on what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. And some days you're feeling great and you're executing at a 10 out of 10. Some days you're feeling kind of shitty and you're executing at a 6 out of 10. But the 6 out of 10 is still better than a 0 out of 10 and sitting on your ass, right? And so one of the biggest forces that affects me positively and negatively is momentum. And so I love when I have momentum because it really positively reinforces every single area of my life. So if I'm on top of my prayers, if I'm on top of my gym, my diet, it also allows me to be on top of my work. But once the other things are starting falling off, how you do one thing is how you do another, and kind of bleeds into each other, right? And just as it affects me greatly positively, it also affects me greatly negatively. So whenever I haven't gone to the gym in like 3-4 days, it's like the biggest battle of the century to like go that the next day, you know. But if I've gone like 6 days a week, the 7th day is like no brainer. It's like easy muscle memory. So yeah, it's ensuring that I'm making sure that my health is in check. So I have the energy, I'm taking care of myself, and I'm building positive momentum through small habits to like fuel myself towards executing on the larger tasks that might appear scarier.
What I find challenging when I, as a business, as an entrepreneur, you tend to put a lot on your shoulders as an entrepreneur. You have this belief that everything's possible, anything's possible, and you really believe that, or else you would probably not be running a business. You have to be very optimistic and believe in yourself and have like high hopes. But at the same time, life throws wrenches in the gears all the time. And it's hard not to feel responsible of your shortcomings, when things don't happen like you like them to happen. And that's where your faith must come very handy, where you can at some point be hands off and be like, that was not God's plan. How do you find that line where you can't control everything, but at the same time you're responsible for everything? That's the thing I have a hard time with. How do you deal with this challenge?
It's a great question, and I think Just like I subscribe to my belief through my faith of like, you need to put your effort in, but the results are in God's hands. I also subscribe to the principle of ultimate ownership. And you need to take accountability for every result in your life. So how do you balance the two, right? It comes down to your level of planning, at least for me. I'm just speaking for myself. It comes down to like whenever I'm in a moment. Let's say I had a plan and I got to the end and I didn't get the result that I was hoping for. Now, how do I figure out whether this was kind of because of a lack of inputs or a lack of execution on my end, or just kind of, I did everything I could and it didn't work, and that's okay. How do I distinguish that? It goes back to what my plan was. So then I have to evaluate what my plan was. So I cannot judge my actions after the fact. I have to judge my plan that was made before the fact. Because after the fact, I'm going to try and escape. I'm a human, right? I say I subscribe to ultimate accountability, but ultimate accountability doesn't feel good. So like, I don't want to, in that moment, I'm probably escaping from feeling bad about myself. So I'm going to try and come up with reasons as to why I couldn't do something or why my level of execution was weaker on a certain aspect. But if I evaluate the original plan that I made with a more centered mindset and in a more calm mind space, then I can say, okay, well, number one, was the plan positioned to succeed in the first place? Was it a good strategy? Number two, what was the strategy? What was the execution level on that strategy? Were both of those two things at a 10 out of 10? If they were at an 8 out of 10, I go back to the drawing board. I got work to do. If they were both at a 10 out of 10, then I'm peaceful. I'm going to go to bed and not think about it, no problem. But what I found is it's seldom the case that those two are a 10 out of 10. And it usually points back at you of like, look, your plan was either not good enough or your execution was not good enough. And to me, that is super empowering because now it means I can do something about it, right? All right, it might not feel good. Yeah, I didn't get the result. I didn't do what I was supposed to. But now I have the opportunity to do that because I've identified the issue. And the issue was me. It was not something else that I can't control. So it's a balance. That's kind of how I balance. It's like, evaluate what you're supposed to do. Did you do it or not?
Interesting. I like that answer. It helps. Really. It's a challenge because extreme ownership comes with its drawbacks where you're like never satisfied because like nothing goes like as well as it could ever. Yeah. So you can't ever be satisfied at some point. I find that a little difficult.
What do you link your satisfaction to?
It's a good question. I find a lot, like most of my satisfaction comes from anticipation and planning and creating and visualizing in my head an outcome. And it's like I'm designing the engine in my head. I think I have a strength there where I can really imagine all the moving parts, how it's going to unfold. And then I get like, once like in my mind, like I start the engine and it works and I figured out like all the little problems and I put it to execution. Most of my satisfaction have already happened. And once the engine is running, I don't even care about it. And I don't even like look at it because I'm already planning something else. That's kind of how I like my loop of creation in business.
Got it.
And so I'd say that's how I derive motivation. It's from creating. That's my strongest energy.
Would you say that your strong suit or like your zone of genius, I'm sure you've heard of that before, is within being kind of on the visionary role instead of like execution?
I would think so. Yeah. I would think so.
Is that
that's something I can do like day and night. Like I just can't tire from that. It's like it's gonna stop me from sleeping because I have to figure out something.
Yeah.
Like it's a very strong energy. I like to talk about these things as energy. Like it's something. It's like when the energy is so strong you can't stop it. Like you have to have it. Like you have to pay attention to that. Like that's an energy you have.
Right.
Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
Yeah.
Right. It can stop me from sleeping, or it's just gonna get me to disconnect from people because like I'm in my head.
Right.
Right. But it's an energy I have.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to find where your strength's at.
Yeah.
Or how to channel it.
I find that what I found really helpful was we had a mastermind last year where we had a guest speaker call. His name was Larry Yatch. And are you aware?
I'm going through the TruePath.
Oh, okay. You're getting his coaching?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I haven't been through his like formal coaching, but he was a guest speaker as a referral from Nick. And he taught us about two concepts, which was one was desired end states and the daily optimized experience sustainable over time.
Mm-hmm.
And those two concepts of changing how you view success, of going from achievement of like, hey, I want to make 100K to like this continuous state of being that you can maintain.
Mm-hmm.
That was super empowering in a complete different way and lens to look at it from, which I found very useful in navigating how I felt about where I was and where to point my compass in terms of where I need to go. It's like, do I need to hit a bigger number, or do I need to kind of get to this like state of being that can be continuous? Because if hitting that bigger number, the number's just going to go up.
Yeah.
Right. But this continuous state of being, there's no end to it. It's not finite.
Mm-hmm.
It's infinite. And so I found that empowering from a mindset perspective of thinking of success in that manner, so that you can just maintain success and you can remain successful instead of like hit these like marks and now you're not successful, but because now you want a bigger mark and you get to the bigger mark and now you're successful again, but now you're not successful again because you want a bigger mark. Right. So, yeah,
balancing that is not easy, especially when you're a very like highly driven individual, like lots of entrepreneurs are very ambitious. Like you're not afraid of something that's bigger than you. Like you like stuff that's bigger than you, or that's slightly like that's slightly making you afraid. Not falling in the trap of always biting, like getting a bigger bite than you can chew.
Yeah. I found that where I fell a few times, and I noticed this in some of my students as well, mentally I struggled was in periods of time where I didn't have clarity. And it's like got so ingrained, and I don't know if you've kind of felt this yourself. It's like you get so ingrained into the business yourself, whether it be operationally or solving the next issue or trying to scale it, that you've never took the time to zoom out and look at where you're going and why you're going there. And because you're not completely clear on what success looks like and what the exact clear pathway towards that point looks like, you don't have as much conviction in the pathway that you're currently taking. And that lack of conviction then results in you feeling burnt out or you feeling foggy. And that's kind of like what I experience. And so whenever I feel like that now, I immediately recognize it as a lack of clarity. I need to take a day and just like do a zoom out on my entire life, my business, etc., and just have complete conviction of where I'm going, why I'm going there, and do I have a clear path to get there. Have you kind of experienced something like that yourself?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. My personal coach has taught me about this dashboard. That's I like to call it a dashboard, like a car dashboard with a bunch of different meters, and there's 10 space in your life. You know, there's your self-development space, there's your personal finance space, your business, your health, your friendships, your love life. And I've yet to build the habit of doing a check-in every month about this dashboard, but I've done it enough times to see how like powerful it is to take a step back and look at your life holistically. Like, am I just not being there for my friends? Like, am I there for my friends? Am I there for my community? Or am I like all in on my business? And that's like the sustainable success is a sustainable experience. What's the saying again?
The daily optimized experience sustainable over time.
That's it.
Yeah.
You need to take that step back 100%. And look at all the dashboard.
Yeah.
All right, on to a different topic. I like this. Branding yourself at 20, building trust and your reputation as a student CEO. How to look credible even when you're just getting started. Oh, I like that. Did you ever struggle with that? Did you ever feel like your younger age made you less credible?
I would say yes,
Yeah.
but not too much. And so,
I'm sure a lot of people are stopped by that. They feel like they're
100%.
imposters.
yeah, I would say in when I started my home service business, in my lawn care business, you'd go to doors and they'd be like, see a kid, and they're like, like for lawn mowing or like a simple job, they're like, perfect. I can now get a good deal and for a cheap price because it's a kid. So we struggled with pricing at a high or premium level because students looking young, etc. You have a project that you're pitching that's, $5,000, $6,000, whatever. It's a little bit more. People are like, like you guys are kids, like don't know how much experience you have, like so. There's doubts in their mind. When I started coaching, I had less doubts because when I started coaching, I had already been in business and operationally executed on what I was coaching on for about 6 years at that point. And my first test pilot of a student was my brother. So it was low stakes with my brother. He saw me, like my credibility was built with him because he saw me build a business in the house. And once he was successful, then I had, him as a testimonial or a case study to show results that we could produce or our coaching could produce for our other students. But yeah, that my go-to method of solving that issue is just results. It's just work your ass off, get more results, more testimonials, and let your results and your actions speak louder than your pitch can.
And louder than your age.
Yeah.
So is that what you tell like the students when they say they're worried about that? I'm gonna have a hard time hiring people. I'm so young. Like people are not gonna work for somebody young like me. Or
Yeah, absolutely.
when they don't have results yet, what do you tell them?
We give them proof. So first time we go hit doors with them, the way we do it is we show them that it's possible first. So we'll go hit the doors ourselves and we'll get a couple leads in front of their face and they're blown away. That first door knock is they're like, wow, like you just talked to a stranger and they're willing to give you money. Like that's crazy. And then we're like, you can do it too. And watch, you're going to do it. And they're like, I don't know if I can do it. And then they'll do it. And then now we're just like rewiring their brain, right? It's like self-doubt. It's like, okay, I doubt this about myself. We're going to prove it wrong. We're going to give your brain evidence that you can do it. And then you're going to strongly believe that you can. And then there's going to be another self-doubt at a higher level of business. And then you're going to get more evidence. And then, so this is how you're going to build your belief and your trust with your own self. And ultimately your confidence, which is kind of what we touched on earlier, to be able to just do bigger things and scale, etc.
And that comes back to the community.
Yeah.
Being part of the right community just shows you what's possible. Like you wanna run like 100 kilometers, like just hang out with runners who do that, and they're gonna show you it's possible, and eventually you might end up doing the same thing. Like it's so joining a community of young entrepreneurs that are successful will show you what's possible.
Yeah, it goes to the story of the 4-minute mile. I'm sure you've heard Roger Bannister, first guy to break the 4-minute mile barrier. It was thought to be impossible. More recently, the 2-hour marathon mark was thought to be impossible. Yeah. And it's like as soon as that barrier was broken, there was like so many runners who just like kept breaking the 4-minute barrier in the mile. And now, you know, I'm sure that's going to be the same case in the marathon. So similar in our community, it's like people are like, oh, I'm not sure if I could do a $10,000 week. And then like one of the students like hits a $10,000 week, and they're like, then like a bunch of them hit a 10K week. So it's always like, who's your group of reference, right? And so is your group of reference getting average results? Well, then you're probably going to get average results. Is your group of reference getting outstanding, excellent, above average results that is compatible with the dream lifestyle that you imagine for yourself? Then you're probably going to end up there too.
You like David Goggin?
Love, yeah.
Yeah. He says like people usually don't use more than 40% of what's in the tank.
Yeah.
I love that. what's possible out there. It's crazy.
Yeah. He's a bit crazy, but
he is
in all the right ways. And he says it himself. He's like, you can call me crazy, but I'm just not you. You know, it's like, hey, I'm Goggins. You know, I love that.
He's a beast. I stopped listening too much to him.
Yeah. I used to be a runner, so I love that stuff, you know, because running was an integral part of how I formed my mindset. It was through track and field, because it's an individual sport ultimately. And when you're on the track or you're like on your runs and you're just getting like, you're just hurting. It's like, there's no cheering squad. It's just quiet road. Like, you know, there's nothing, you know, you throw up on the track, no one cares. Like, so, in that moment, you have a choice to make. You can walk away, no one's holding you hostage, or you can get your shit together and you can try again and you can push harder and you focus on putting. I remember there was a training session. There's so much of this, the mindset that I learned from running and training in a group. I remember when we trained in a group, there was one of my training partners, his name was Farah. He was a little bit faster than I was. And when we would do training reps together around a track, he would be in front of me and he would just like point beside him. He wouldn't be looking at me, he'd just point beside him. When I started trailing a little bit behind him, just point beside him. And I was like, shit, like Farah wants me to get up there. And then I'd like push a little bit harder to get up there. And because of that, I got faster and faster because I had someone else. It's like your reference group. Then it's like, there was another training session I remember, it was just like dying. And the advice given to me by, I forget now, it's been a while, by my coach or the guys beside me was like, dude, just focus on the next 100. We were doing like 300 or 400 meter reps. It's like, just focus on getting to the 100 meter mark on time. And I just focused on getting to the 100 meter mark and then the next 200 meter mark and then the next 3. They're like, if you get to the 200, you want to quit, go ahead. But just get to 200 on time, right? And funny enough, it's like you get to the 200 mark, you're not going to want to quit. It's like now you get to the 300 mark and you finish the rep on time better than you thought you could do it, etc. Just because you overcame your own mental bullshit story that you were just feeding yourself before the rep because you were just scared. So like, a lot of these mental models, like I formed them in track and field. So like guys like David Goggins or even that Cam guy you mentioned, I remember his face now as you mentioned him.
Cam Haynes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's like a runner guy.
Yeah, he's a buddy of David Goggins.
Yeah. And it's like, I love these guys and like draw a lot of like inspiration and mental models through them because I can like relate a lot.
Nice. Have you ever hurt yourself? Did you ever like push too far? Do you have stories around that?
100%. Running, I was obsessed with performing at a high level. I wanted to get a scholarship to the US out of high school. Never ended up getting there, but I wanted to push as hard as I could. And so as a middle distance runner, we would do mileage, like just easy runs and mileage. So we would have a certain amount of kilometers that we would run in a week. At that time, we were about 100 kilometers a week. And at that, I pushed too much, too quickly, whatever. I did the wrong thing. It's on me ultimately. And like, I broke my foot. Like just literally running too much, just like bones cracked. Like my metatarsal just fractured. And then recover from that injury. Once you recover from that injury, now you have ankle issues, etc. So again, track and field taught me you can get injured and you now have to pause and you have to pay the price of you not being prepared properly or not following the training program properly or not being patient properly or not sleeping properly or not being on your nutrition. Ultimately, it's your fault. You didn't just get injured just out of, bad luck. It's not an impact sport. You can control a lot of the stuff, right? I'm not sprinting. I didn't tear anything. It was an overuse injury. I could have controlled it, right? But it was a lack of experience on my end and lack of knowledge and training. So it's like, it teaches you patience, right? I'm down. Now I gotta be patient, pay the price of not training. And when I'm down, what can I do? It's like I can sit on the couch, do nothing, or I can cross train on the bike, in the water, etc. Right? And then once I get back, I now have to pay the price again of humbling myself and starting slower and begin with the beginner group, etc. And then the and then from the business perspective, I remember I had a plastic boot on my foot, and from this like stress fracture. And at that time, I was in grade 12, and I got my first. I think my first job was a door-to-door marketer for a College Pro franchisee. It was like a friend's sister's brother or something was running a franchise, and they're like, yeah, like this guy has a job for you. So I like went, and I was a door-to-door marketer. I remember like putting like a plastic bag on my sock it was January, negative freaking 20, and I put the plastic boot on and like literally going door to door with that plastic boot. And I still remember that image. And it's like that image to this day, like, and that like feeling still to this day, like kind of gives me energy of like, man, if I can do that, like, you know, you get softer as you go along because you have more resources and this and that. It's like, if I can do that, like if I have that kind of fire now, I can operate with all the resources and leverage I have now at a whole different level. And it's another story was like, man, like I just literally blacked out one day and like I fell and I blacked out and it's like
running.
in the water. From just, I think too exhausted. I was running my business, school. I found a club at school as well. I had a nonprofit organization and I was doing track and field. So I was doing these 4 main things, barely sleeping, no nutrition. Like it was a disaster and just like blacked out. And, running a fever, I like stood up and just like passed out, and I like they took me to the hospital, IV, this, that, and it's like, then I learned, I'm like, no, it's like if you don't take care of your health's gonna force you to pay attention to it. So you can either do it the right way and just like take care of it, or life is gonna force you to pay attention to your health. So then I learned a valuable lesson there, and then started taking care of it. So, but you know what? I loved that I hit that spot. I would not change a thing because it shows me where my limit is. You know, most people don't ever figure out where their limit is in life because they never push hard enough because they don't have the courage to push hard enough.
Fascinating, man. So I'd like to end with, first of all, I'd like to know if somebody's interested in joining your platform, like what's the next steps? What are you working by cohorts? Like when's the next cohort starting? Like what's the opportunity here?
Yeah, we usually start our cohorts kind of towards the end of the fall.
Okay.
We have an active waiting list right now of people wanting to work with us. So if anyone's interested and wants to work with us and interested, they can sign up for the waiting list. It's on our Instagram at 6, like the number 6. Figure student, FIGURE student. So there's a waiting list they can join, and then we can be in touch to give them more info.
Cool. We'll put that in the description. And I'd like to end with, I love books, I love podcasts, I love content in general. Like anything you'd like to share that really had a big impact in your life that somebody else could use.
So a book or a podcast?
Yeah, anything, content that somebody can find out there.
I would say there's 2, if that's cool. Number 1 was the first personal development book I read. And it was called High Performance Habit by Brendon Burchard. Okay. And it echoed a lot of the similar concept as Atomic Habits, etc. And it was the first thing I remember having. I still have my brother was showing me old pictures on his computer from like on FaceTime the other day. And it's like, he showed me pictures of my bedroom, and I had like on the back of my door, these like massive 90-day calendars. And it was like, it encouraged you to plan your stuff out and like, think about all different areas of life. And it was my first time like getting introduced to all these concepts and like building habits. What does it take to build a habit or break a habit? And those are like the basic building blocks. And I went through like, a phase of like me writing shit on my hand to like, this is how I'm going to remember how to do it, to like actually using a calendar and having plans, right? That was a good building block. And then the second most recently most valuable book that I've read and content I've gone through is Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. And he's just opened so much. He's opened our eyes to so much in terms of how to delegate effectively, to buy back your time, to work on things that not only produce more money, but actually give you more energy as well. Because the things that might give you more energy might be things that take away energy from others, and vice versa. I know you were touching on energy a little bit. And so, for example, it's like if your zone of genius and your way of getting energy is you being a visionary and thinking about ideas and innovation, etc., then another person might hate doing that, you know? So it's like, how can you put yourself in a situation where you get to do more of what you like and what makes you and your business the most amount of money, and vice versa? How do you play to people's strengths? So Buy Back Your Time and High Performance Habits, I would say great books.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And what's the 10-year vision for Six Figure Student? Like, where do you see it going?
It's a great question and a crazy timing for the question, because right now we're actually going through planning a whole 10-year vision and plan for us.
Okay.
And we've experienced some hiccups, challenges in the business. We've ran it for like 4 or 5 years now. It's like now we know what this industry is like. So it's like, how do we pivot? Do we pivot? Do we not? What does the ultimate version look like? We're actually going through that planning right now. So I'm not 100% sure yet. However, I am very passionate about helping people be able to take care of themselves better, right? So whether that, and one of the vehicle I can do that through is business, and so I'd love to continue working in that space. And right now we're serving students. In the future, we might be serving another demographic, right? However, I want to keep, what energizes me is working with people in a way that helps them take care of themselves better, take care of their families better, empowers them, and ultimately changes their trajectory in life. And so in whatever shape or way form I can do that over the next 10 years, I want to keep doing that. That's the thing I want to keep constant. The vehicle might change, but that's kind of what we're up to right now. The specifics we're figuring out, but I'll let you know in 10 years.
Well, that's what's going to happen then.
Yeah.
I really believe in you, Hamza. Like, you say all these things, and coming up from other people, sometimes it can sound a little empty. But I know it's genuine coming from you. Like, you're a good man. So I'm glad you came on the podcast. Just keep at it. You're an inspiration to us all. And yeah, I'm proud that you made it all the way here.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for inviting me. It's been a great conversation, and likewise, deriving energy from your guys' progress as well, from you guys literally painting houses to, having your own real estate firm. And I know every freaking 18 to 20-year-old student, and I'm sure back when you were a student in that age range, you notice everybody talks about real estate. Everyone's like, everybody and their mom and their cousins, like, yeah, I want to do real estate. I want to, own houses and have cash coming in and be laying on the beach and relaxing and, making big bucks. But I know you guys are not laying on the beach and making big bucks doing nothing, but
maybe later this year though.
Yeah, exactly. Not yet, but man, you guys have made that a reality. Like, a lot of people want to do something, and you guys set out and actually did it. And so hats off to you guys, and I'm excited for you guys, where you guys go as well.
Thanks, man. Do you have a last word you want to share with the world? Oftentimes I'll ask, if you had this virtual billboard that everybody could see, what would you write on that board?
Figure out what success looks like. Make sure you're clear on why success looks like how it does, and ensure you have a clear pathway to get there. That's it.
Awesome. Man.
Thank you.
Thanks to you. So another great conversation ends. I hope it brought you tremendous value. If it did, please like, subscribe, or leave us a 5-star review on Spotify. We'd love to read your comments. Feel free to leave one. And also, you can contact our guests. Usually their information is included in the description. So that's it. That's all. See you very soon, my friends.